Welcome back, everyone! The first Tempo Storm Meta Snapshot of 2024 is a classic showcase of the diversity offered in the Wild format. Not much has changed since before the holidays, but we still have some developments to report. It appears that the metagame has finally settled to a stable position during Showdown in the Badlands. There was a set of nerfs and buffs just after our last report, mostly targeting a few decks in Standard that were either a step ahead or a step behind of the rest of the field. The main changes to impact the format are to Prismatic Beam, which now costs 8 mana and only deals damage to enemy minions, and Splish Splash Welt, now a 1/1 dragon instead of a 2/1. Wild has mostly shrugged off the update, and other than Holy Wrath Paladin's fall from the top of the meta snapshot, there aren't any indications that balance changes impacted the metagame much at all. Most developments have come from within the format. Decks have continued to make optimizations as the format moves towards a solved meta. The top of the tier list is the first example of small developments and minute shifts. Reno Shaman has retaken the top spot on our meta snapshot while perfecting its build over the last few weeks. The archetype remains one of the most well-rounded in the game, with no matchup ever feeling too lopsided. Even Warrior and Even Shaman are also settled here. When piloted by a human, Even Shaman is one of the best decks in the game. Its perceived power is heavily skewed by a large bot population, which tends to pilot the deck at a level comparable to Tier 3 decks. Don't be fooled, Even Shaman is the real deal. Even Warrior, meanwhile, has by far the highest win rate of all decks piloted to Legend this season, according to data aggregators like Firestone and HS Replay. Its lower position in Tier 1 can be considered an Even Shaman bot tax, since the archetype tends to do extremely well in that matchup, but its overall power is still high enough to keep the deck safely in Tier 1. The final archetype to make the cut here may be a surprise to some, Aggro Shadow Priest. Although it's been listed as a Tier 2 deck for most of this expansion so far, list optimizations and separating bot performance from human performance have led our experts to rating it higher in the latest meta snapshot. It's the premier choice for getting under passive strategies, and has a chance against all but the most defensive decks in the format. At the top of Tier 2, readers will find this meta snapshot's most notable tier shift in Holy Wrath Paladin. The change to Prismatic Beam hurts slightly here, mainly because it can no longer deal face damage when casted. Players must rely strictly on the board to deal chip damage before they can end the game with a 25 damage Holy Wrath to the face. Given how opponents have become familiar with the archetype over the last month, it can be a challenge to get that necessary chip damage in time to end the game. Below Paladin is a mix of decks subsisting of every kind of strategy imaginable. Want to go face? There are several builds of Pirate Rogue being tested. Most have settled on a burn package to put the deck over the top against reactive strategies. Prefer a reactive game plan? Questline Warlock is available. The featured build weaponizes fatigue to kill quickly after playing a defensive style for most of the game. What about combo? Reno Druid and Reno Quest Mage are top decks that each offer unique win conditions to players. The former wins via an Aviana combo that takes up the entire board and kills in a single turn. The latter, meanwhile, sets itself up to take as long as needed to edge out a win. Whatever you choose to take to the Wild ladder, there are plenty of options to find success. Looking for even more information on how to gain an edge? Our full report at tempostorm.com covers the ins and outs of the entire metagame to ensure you have what it takes to win. We provide extensive breakdowns and full deck lists for all of your ladder climbing needs. As always, thanks for watching.